The Honourable Minister Vermilion-Lloydminster.
2 years. Mr. Speaker, thank you. It's high school graduation season, and while graduates are excited about finishing grade 12, many principals and teachers I've spoken with are gravely concerned about the reduction in funding from 60 to 45 credit enrollment units in this year's education budget. It's estimated that this change translates to a $6.4 million funding cut to 24 of Alberta's rural school boards. So to the Minister of Education, why did you make this reduction that disproportionately harms rural school boards and, more importantly, rural students?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much for the question. And in regards to the high school credits, first of all, we were looking for efficiencies. Certainly listening to the members opposite to find efficiencies, and we found that the majority of schools, high schools, are now using the high school redesign programming. And so we also found that the average high school student is taking 37 credits, and so the cap that we put at 45 credits was, I think, a pretty reasonable way to deal with this, because, Mr. Speaker, we're looking to make sure we spend public money in the most efficient way possible.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. First supplemental.
Well, Mr. Speaker, given statistics show rural students average a higher number of CEUs than urban students, in fact 41 versus 37, and given that this funding change could result in some rural boards having to either lay off teachers or restrict educational options for students, and given that this is surely not what this minister had intended, to the minister, what are the total savings you expect to realize from this funding change? And what projected impact will it have on high school completion rates?
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and those are both very good questions, and we did look at all of those issues. I just made an announcement, for example, to put $16 million over the next 4 years into dual credit programming, which is focused very much on rural school, high school students. As well, you know, Mr. Speaker, I don't think it's a mystery to anybody that we have been putting money in for enrollment, building and modernizing schools across the province, including in the honourable member's area. And we're looking for ways by which we can make a shift to make sure that we are funding schools and making life better for Alberta families.
Well, Mr. Speaker, given that the analysis of statistics from one school division showed only 28 students taking more than 60 CEUs, but some 249 taking over 45 CEUs, fully 1/4 of the high school enrollment, and given that these additional CEUs are often earned in dual credit, green certificate, and work experience programs that this government has, as just happened, been eager to promote, and given that this means students in rural Alberta will have reduced choices in attempting to finish high school, to the minister, will you consider revisiting this change in your funding model?
The Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And certainly it's important to make difficult decisions, but it's also important to be modernizing and moving along as we build a proper high school funding formula. The high school redesign program has now moved into the majority of all of the schools here in the province of Alberta. It allows flexibility for students and for teachers and principals to make decisions that are best for the education. We can see discernible improvements in high school completion rates, in attendance, and so forth. And so, yes, we're putting in money, more investment in dual credit, more investment in the green trip as well, and we're making sure that we are funding our schools.